Good evening. We'll call this SAU board meeting to order, November 13th, 2019 at 7:04. Mrs. Belcher, could you call the roll, please?
Brian Boyle.
Here.
Lee Doobie. Kimberly Farah. Jason Giard.
Here.
Sheila Lowe's.
Here.
Sarah Hockenrush. Sean O'Neill. Susan Carmel.
Here.
Kristen Savage.
Here.
Susan Johnny.
Here.
Jennifer Silva.
Here.
David Smith.
Here.
James Sweeney. Sharon Jacinto. All trustees this evening with the board are the superintendent of schools, Dr. O. Metzler, and CFO Business Administrator, Jeff Gabb.
Okay, could we all rise to pledge allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Skipped ahead just a little.
I was wondering who that was.
She said individuals.
You didn't have to admit that.
Okay. We'll write down this agenda here. First order of business here, we have approval of meeting minutes, 6 sets. Does that include the non-public?
The non-public.
So,
And if you're ready, I can start turning it around and the others.
okey-doke. So the first ones we'll look at here are October 2nd. Thank you.
Should have waited.
Yes.
I didn't realize I was sitting there.
Is that it, Kathy? Is that it?
Yeah,
So those are all different times of,
Session 1 to October 2nd. Okay,
Sure.
and then you're in-
Do from the 16th?
All right, I'm lost. 22.
this is weird.
The regular.
Does everyone have them?
It's weird, aren't they all weird?
I think it stopped with me. I'm sorry. No, wait a minute.
Here, so.
So we should have
Never really remember it.
2 regular
1, 2.
meeting and then 2 non-publics, and then 16 regular meeting and 2 non-publics, correct?
Was I really here for that?
Correct.
Okay, I'm just making sure I'm with you.
No, you're right.
All right.
Well, I am.
You people let me know when you're ready. I'm looking for a motion on this October 2nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the October 2nd regular meeting minutes.
Motion by Sheila, second.
Second.
Second by Dave Smith. Any further discussion or amendments to these minutes? Okay, if not, I'll take a vote. All those in favor of the minutes is
Is yours up?
Abstain.
8, 4,
8 opposed. Abstentions? 3 abstentions, okay.
So I think it was 7 approved, 3 abstained, right?
10.
All right? Yep.
That's correct.
Perfect.
And if you're thinking for
Myself.
We're Karen Sanker, Jim Sweeney, and Sue.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. October 16th minutes.
Regular.
Yeah, let's go, let's these regulars out of here first. October 16th.
Oh.
Entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the October 16th, 2019 regular session minutes.
Second.
Motion by Kristen, second by Sheila. Any discussion? Hearing none? Great. Take a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? So it looks like we have 901. Thank you.
Session.
Now we can go into these non-publics. We have 3 sets of non-publics here?
4.
October 2, session 1. Go in order.
Okay, October 2, session 1, non-public. So there's, oh, I see, there's 2 sessions there. Yeah.
I have an extra October 2nd, so you have that one.
You don't have those because you weren't there when we were passing them out, so there's 4 sets of them.
I didn't have an extra one. So I don't have an extra one. Never mind.
October 16th.
You giving Karen the same ones?
I don't have, because Kathy.
You should have those. She doesn't have them getting them now.
Oh,
They
sorry.
put up the right amount the first time.
Yeah, because those weren't, because we sealed them.
You're looking at the same dates. Yeah, 2nd and 2nd. I was absent.
Okay, people, looking for motion here for the October 2nd, non-public, session 1.
She's still, Brian, she's still.
We
getting
haven't
the-
seen them yet.
No, you,
These are. She's still getting them, right?
Karen does not
Karen.
have all of them.
Oh, sorry, we passed them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're not listed there.
On the bottom she is. Yeah, I'm listed as
Oh,
voting yes.
Oh, in the bottom, I'm sorry. I was looking at
Session 1,
nine, 10.
2, and then October session 1. Can she look on with your
course.
session 2?
I didn't come to
It was
this.
hard time.
Session 2.
Do you have these?
You're on the back page.
Session 1.
16th, I was there.
Everybody has them now? Okay, we'll give them a minute.
You're on the next set too, same date. Unsealed ones?
Oh, session 2, you're on there too.
Yeah.
I don't think I came into them either. One that you and I came in together.
Yeah, it wasn't, it was the other one. It wasn't that one. But you're not on the polling on the top.
Are these new ones?
I think you just, it's the exit non-publics. You just kind of end up on,
Yeah,
by
let's
default,
skip,
probably.
Yeah.
You want these?
Yes, we know she wants to come out.
1 and 2.
If she's,
Actually,
we
you
knew
you
that.
wanna come
Shouldn't
out.
have to be here to vote.
Don't want to go in.
Okay, people, I mean, we're looking here.
I don't
We
know,
still
she's-
reviewing over here?
They look the same.
Okay, Sheila, help me out here. Give me a motion.
I'll make a motion to, well, I want to make sure Mrs. Yasenka had what she needed. I'll make a motion to accept the October 2nd non-public session 1.
Second.
Motion by Sheila, seconded by Jen.
And just for correction's sake,
on the bottom of page 1 of 2,
Yeah.
where it says exited non-public. I wasn't here, so could you please cross me out? I didn't vote yes because I was not here.
Sure, yep.
And on the back
And then on the
also.
back, page 2 of 2, hold to seal. I wasn't here, just,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other corrections? Take a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Looks like everyone's voted for. Opposed? None? Abstention?
No, you can't vote on that one.
For the second?
No, we're on the 16th, aren't we?
No, she said
No,
the
no.
second.
October
Hold on.
2nd,
Non-public.
non-public session
Six
1.
one.
Sorry, I read
16th I
that one.
wasn't here.
Sorry.
Voted.
So we have
I'm good. I'm
one
good.
abstention.
Too many.
So we have 9,
0,
0,
1. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's put these together.
So in the same situation, Mrs. Yusenko was here on the 2nd, and it doesn't,
I don't think we did that one,
no, I'm still talking about these minutes we just approved.
Oh,
Mrs. Yusenka, I know was here, she didn't vote to come out of public session, non-public,
Right.
her name's not on there.
Thank
She
you.
didn't
Right.
leave, did she?
Yes, she left.
She left.
Did
Oh, you
leave.
left.
Did leave.
Where did that say that?
Didn't she, or?
We can put it in.
Did. She voted to go into non-public. And then she didn't vote to come out of non-public? She left during non-public?
I believe I left.
Okay, doesn't reflect that, that's,
So I will look through my notes and add it if that is the case.
Okay.
so these are sealed, right?
Because I get, Kathy,
Yes.
these were on, they each say at 8:22. Did we do the second, I'm so confused, I'm sorry, did we do the second set yet?
No.
No, we're going to on.
I just was trying to
So,
figure
you see session 1 says 8:22,
Yes.
and session 2 also says 8:22?
That's because I cut and pasted that header.
I assumed that, so
Yes.
it should have been 9:01 for the second session. I know we're not on that set yet, but just trying to clarify all this. And then I do believe that that was the night that Miss Yusenko left, so
I was here.
I don't know if she left during the first session or the second session, but I'm assuming it was a cut and paste, so. You following me?
Yes. I know exactly.
Because you have her voting yes to go back in on the second session.
I leave so often.
But not during.
So, right, so it's either,
It doesn't matter.
Should so I'll make a motion to approve October 2nd, non-public session 2.
I'll second.
Sorry, you guys, I will clean that up.
Motion been made by John Silver, seconded by Dave Smith.
Yeah, that was pretty.
October 2nd, non-public session 2. Any amendments or any,
Just the
besides
one-
Kristen's?
yeah, just the ones that were just talked about.
Okay, super.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, all those in favor? Looks like we have 8 opposed, abstentions.
I'm abstaining, but again, it shows me
So it's
having voted.
8-0-2.
Shows me voting. Those aren't sealed, right?
Okay. October 16th, right? We have 2, right?
Make a motion to accept October 16th non-public session.
Now we're doing the 16th, right? It's confusing. Oh, not for me, I was absent.
Yes. I'll second it.
Okay. Yeah, make sure it's in order here. Any discussion? Seeing none?
Hold on.
Hang on a minute, Brian.
Okay.
I feel like there's something missing here that should be in here.
Under were you looking at there, on the bottom?
Just the discussion part of it.
Yes.
It's up-
This is sealed, so.
No,
Yeah.
I know. Like there was an important bit of detail that would maybe be helpful to include in there.
That you want to put,
This can all go back.
what would be your pleasure?
Like,
We're going, why don't we just go into
no,
non-public now?
it's
and
fine.
just-
If everybody else is fine with it, it's fine.
I think it captures it. Since I came in for that discussion.
And with boots even.
Good? We good? Okay,
I don't want to go into non-public.
all right. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? So at 901. October 16th, non-public session 2. Pleasure.
Motion to accept these, right?
Brian's name's on it.
Oh,
No.
okay, I'll make a motion to accept the October 16th non-public session 2.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Jen, seconded by Kristen. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? Abstentions? Thank you. 901 again. Great, so if we can get our little non-publics passed back to Mrs. Belcher here. Okay, let's get on to the 2021 SAU budget. Jeff?
Oh, good evening, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Board members should have in their packets a copy of the revised budget, and it's captioned 2021 budget tracking. I believe that's the lead sheet that you have. The budget begins on the second page, and I wanted to go through with you where we're at. So we had an initial budget presented on October 2nd. A second budget was prepared for the meeting on October 10th. However, since that time, I've been able to finalize some of the estimates that we've had for insurance, well, mostly insurance, and as a result of that, I've created a draft 3. So on that lead budget tracking page, you can see that we started out with a total original budget, and if you look at just the salaries and operating expense section, the original budget of $2,479,423, to a draft 2 of $2,336,423, to a draft 3 of $2,310,499. So the total difference between the original budget and draft 3 is a reduction of $168,924. Those changes are delineated by line at the bottom. Draft 2 changes included a reduction in the 2,900-290 account, which is other employee benefits, of $142,897. that was the line that we had used, that I used to capture any sick, vacation time, or any time that's payable upon, among other things, payable upon separation of employees. With the potential withdrawal this year of Timberlane from the SAU, I budgeted that at 100% in the original budget, and in the current budget, I am reflecting a reduction of $142,897, which is what we can make up from fund balance if we need to, should all of those liabilities become due and payable. We'd have the ability to pay those, should everyone retire or everyone leave or whatever. Normally, I only budget that a third of what the projected total obligation could be, but because this is a year that people may, a budget year that people may end up retiring, that amount has been changed to reflect what we can cover based on what we have in fund balance. In addition to that, I received some updates on insurance. So our liability insurance increased $325. That is a not to exceed amount that I received from Primex, so that's a budget number. So I've increased that line. It's not a lot. It was it's now $4,295. It's not a lot of money. The increase is not that much. Employee insurance, our GMR came in from an original of 5%. What I was thinking, it actually came in at a reduction of 1.7%. So I think I have 1.17%. It was 1.7% reduction from last year. So I've reduced that line by $26,658. Workers' compensation, not to exceed amount, came in $306 higher than where we were. So the total net overall is a difference of $168,924. Again, our current draft 3 proposed budget is $2,310,499. So that's a summary of where we started and where we're at, and I know that the board had some areas that you were going to look at. I'm more than happy to address any specific questions or address any areas that I can.
Sure. I'll open up the floor if people have any initial questions here for Jeff on the budget. Want to have a couple minutes to absorb it a little bit then?
Jen has a question.
Jen? Thank you. You can see.
On the salary lines, the business operations coordinator salary, is that a position that we have advertised for?
No. I don't believe that's being advertised at the moment.
But that salary is included in this.
Correct.
salary line.
Correct, yeah.
Jen, kick Brian for me.
I'm sorry, Sheila. She just throws something at me.
Okay, so you grabbed 142,897 under the unassigned fund balance, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and we said there was about 178.
correct, yeah.
Okay, so that still leaves a balance in there, correct?
It does, yeah.
And that's obviously without this year's.
If anything, yeah, we come in this year, and that assumes 100%,
Correct.
100% usage of that account
Correct.
as an expense.
So it looks to me like, following up on Jen's comment, so it's probably, wise, just to leave that job there. Business operations coordinator, because now it looks like we've done something a little different here. Both Hampstead has a facilities person, we now have a facilities person, so that was the position?
Correct, yeah.
Does that sound right?
Correct, yeah, and that's on your agenda for.
Number 8 on your agenda this evening.
It's further down.
Job description that you asked for.
That's
All right. Okay.
that ad would look.
Okey-doke. Just like the Timberland budget. Nice to see the decrease in the GMR.
Sorry?
Nice to see it, probably the first time we've had a decrease in GMR in 10 years.
Decrease, yeah. It wasn't that many years ago. We're looking at double-digit 20%.
I don't think I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Are you looking for action on this budget before we move on?
I think we should have action this week. We have to set up a starting agenda for a public hearing.
Move to approve the budget as presented.
To make the motion.
I just made the motion. Move to
Okay.
approve the budget towards the hearing.
Mrs. Yusenko?
Question. I'd like to ask Dr. Metzler and Mr. Dowd, with the numbers in here, is this a very workable budget for you? Do you see any areas that may not be funded as it should be for something that you may know that's coming down the road that we're unaware of?
If there are unanticipated liabilities, those could be an issue. It could run into, we're running it close because we do have a fund balance currently. And I projected that our total, and I think the line that I'd be concerned about, the line that I really don't have as much visibility into is that other employee benefits line that I would put at 100% funding. That's at 311,508. If we have any claims or any other unknowns that come in, we probably would not have enough in our fund balance to cover should everyone, let's say, retire, leave, and if we had any other claims come in on top of that. We don't have a lot of room at this point.
Do you have
Normally
a
we
number in mind that would be more sufficient to cover other employee benefits? If
Well,
not, that's okay.
I think that if there were to be a cushion, I would think that 100,000 or so would probably be enough to give me comfort that we're where we need to be. But again, that's assuming worst case scenario, but in fairness, that's what we assume.
Sheila?
Do we have the budget on the floor?
Yes,
We
yes.
don't have a second on it yet,
No,
so.
I made the motion to approve the budget, and have somebody second it, and then we just started
I'll
discussing it.
I don't think anybody seconded
No,
it.
I didn't. Nobody seconded.
I'll
Sorry.
second it for discussion. Now can I ask my question?
Please.
Okay. Okay, so we're talking about that other liability that you're worried about, right? So, when we have leftover unassigned fund balances, correct? That goes into that, anything left over other than $25,000 goes into that fund?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
It builds up.
So we have not, as of now, we have not filled an assistant superintendent position, and we have not filled the business operations position.
Correct.
So we're looking at 5 months right now on the assistant superintendent, 3 months on the business operations job
Yep.
without benefits.
Yep.
I'm looking at probably about 75,000 without benefits.
It could be there, yeah. Yeah.
So can I round up to 100,000 right there for
Sure.
benefits and salaries?
Yeah, I think you'd get there, yeah.
Okay, so there's that 100, am I correct?
That could be your 100, yeah.
Well, that and the fact that mathematically, Timberlane would be 77% of it. So if we had a shortfall, Timberlane would have to make up 77% of it, yeah? We seem to,
Yeah.
last year we were at 4 million, we always have at least $1.5 million in a,
Well, I'm just thinking of what would be in there.
right within the SAU
the
budget,
end
you're
of-
saying.
At the end of 1920,
Mm-hmm.
what could potentially be there at this point without these positions filled?
Looks like there's plenty of money. I don't disagree with you,
That's what
but
I'm
I
trying to
guess,
get at.
but I think the lion's share of it is Timberlane's anyway, and
Right.
I think, you know,
I hate to assume fund balance that's not yet fund balance.
No, but at this point in time,
Yeah.
Dr. Metzler.
I don't believe, well, since I've been here, I don't believe we've had to do that.
I
I
agree.
think we had to do it in 2012, the year before I got here. I think they had to go back into the districts, because they totally spent, correct? Because they had to do with the search and the payouts and all that kind of stuff, so I think that was the last time I think that they had to do that. So we don't have,
And I don't anticipate it, but I think what Jeff's comment and Mrs. Yusenko, I think, was piggybacking it was, if you worst case this and everybody leaves, what would be your worst day ever? And you're looking at about 300, and I think we've pretty much got it covered here. And if we didn't, if we were 25 to 50 off, we're on the hook for 77. It won't break.
Go back to both districts.
Yeah, but the bulk of it is ours. I don't think we're not that tight. Now, should we be that tight? We should always have some kind of a.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on the budget?
Brian, should we be talking about 7 and 8 on the agenda before we, I mean, because those, potentially impact where we go with the budget, is all I'm saying. They kind of thought so, and that's kind of why,
Well,
it just seems like
I have no problem doing that, just
it doesn't make sense. I mean,
well, I think it makes sense. You can have the conversation. I think you should have an assistant superintendent in the budget.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm not saying that, but I'm more talking about the business operations coordinator. I'm looking at
Okay,
a
so
job
the-
description that's different than the line that's in the budget, so I'm just saying, where are we going with that first before we finalize a number for the budget?
You're not really finalizing the budget, it's moved to public hearing.
Yeah.
That's when
Right,
that's when you finalize the budget, so that's not the final budget.
I'm just saying, I think our numbers should
Well, the
be
discussion
the
can be had.
same. I mean, if we're
Discussion
gonna
can
have
be
it
had on either
certainly on
end,
one
doesn't
thing.
Well, let me do this. I'd say we vote in the budget, and then we can, let's reconsider it if something
Right.
That's fine.
happens.
Okay, I just wanted to,
Go back even after the. after
We're
the
still here?
hearing.
So I'd rather get a budget with the bulk of us here approved,
okay,
so we can get ready for public hearing. Then if we have to do something in Agenda 8, we'll deal with it in Agenda 8. Agree? Okay. So, there's been a motion made by Mrs. Sherman, right? Correct?
Correct.
Seconded by Sheila for the full amount, which is 2.310, that correct? The draft number 3, dated,
2.310499, is that the final number?
yes.
That's it.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Superintendent's goals. This has been beaten around a couple of times.
Okay, both districts have had an opportunity to look at these goals and weigh in. I don't know how lengthy of a discussion you wanted to have tonight. Obviously, we look for the SAU's endorsement of the goals as a whole, but again, Hampstead is respectful of Timberlane's goals, and Timberlane is respectful of Hampstead's goals, but they're my goals, so they have to kind of be together in one document, and it's just a group that endorses them 6 months into the year, 5 months into the year. If you had questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I could go through each goal. I don't know. You tell me what you'd like.
Mrs. Lowe's.
I am being a little remiss because I should have thought of this sooner. No, we didn't know. Under climate, culture, and public relations, Timberlane's A.
What's the question?
Can you add one more to that, please?
I could, yeah, certainly. What would you like? Oh, the additional, yeah.
Should we just change it for negotiation?
Yeah, I think that's what it should
For all
say
organized
anyway.
units, or,
It's just that I'd hate to leave that out.
yeah.
I was surprised it was delineated out, frankly, Sheila.
Yeah, that was
Just,
when, before we knew the last one, it just came down the pipe, so.
We don't know what they're called.
We
But
don't, so we just say for all unionized,
for all
All board
negotiations.
Negotiations.
Well, how about board negotiated agreements?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes sense? Okay.
Bargaining units.
I just felt that it was spelled out, and I just felt that
Yep.
Nice catch.
one
Yeah.
more.
Yep. I haven't looked at these in a while. I think, and obviously, as you look at them now, some of you are very much involved in some of these goals already, so.
And probably B on the, oh,
I'm sorry, Mr. Sherman.
so on the second page, at the top, under culture and whatever that is, B, that meet with, meet with union representatives 3 times during the year. You don't know what those unions will be,
But
when you meet with all of them, not just TTA and TSSU and
I agree. So
whatever
just-
the others are gonna be called. So I think it should be more broad instead of being specific. When these were written, there
Yeah.
were
Well, that
specifically
was-
only 2.
that's what we had when
Right.
I threw them
You
in.
don't mean Lou Broad?
No,
No.
I'm
no,
just
you
kidding.
don't need to meet with him. Well, unless he's a
We used to,
union.
yeah. Okay, so that's understood, that,
Yeah.
however many organized groups you have in
Right.
in your district.
Do we have to accept these, approve these? What are we doing?
You take action to approve them.
Motion
The,
to approve the
All,
superintendent's
Hampstead
rules.
all set with the,
Yes.
Yes.
motion made to accept superintendent's goals,
A second.
second by Mrs. Sherman. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Good. Move along here.
Should have got that already.
Assistant superintendent hiring process.
That's you.
That's me? That's me, huh? Well, I wish I had something to report, because I basically, I know when I was involved, very limited, that was months ago. I think it was pretty much Kim and Caitlin, and then I don't really, I wish I could tell you what happened after that.
Well, want me to
Please.
jump in? So there's some discussion about putting together and posting in the fall for July 1 and putting together a search committee, making sure all the towns and all the vested people are involved in that search committee, kind of starting the process all over. We had a lengthy discussion about if we had somebody internally that we could move in, that would be smooth and keep the work going, but we didn't really have any of those options, so we were basically thinking, somebody new would probably be more work than doing what we're currently doing. I don't disagree with that theory. Training somebody would take, that takes more time. So we're getting the work done. We're doing the best we can to cover as much as we possibly can. We're trying to prioritize. It's frustrating because I can't make every meeting. I can't be in 2 or 3 places at once, but we're doing what we can. And so I think the next thing would be to post and to start thinking about a search committee. The time of the year, this is a good time to be thinking about it soon, into January, into December, January, to have it posted. We don't want to wait till the spring. You don't want to wait till the spring. The pool thins out quickly. You advertise too early, like we do in the summer. Some people are already working and they're already committed for the year. So this is really that window between November 1st and probably February 1st where you see a majority of the postings. So I would encourage the board between now and next is to think about a directive to advertise, post, and then talk about putting the group together. That would be the chair's responsibility to pick representatives and work with the administration to put the search committee together, start the process over.
Make a motion.
Mrs. Sherman.
Make a motion to direct the superintendent to post and work with the chair of the SAU to form a search committee for an assistant superintendent. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
It was seconded by, I'm sorry.
Caitlin Pennell. Mrs. Sherman.
I think we've waited long enough. I think this is the correct window of time. We're just, to use a beloved former school board's phrase, just kicking the can down the road every time we just discuss this once again. Let's get a search committee formed, let's get it advertised, let's move it along. I'm sorry the other options didn't work out. I'm sorry we're at this point, but let's move it along. This is a good window. We wait any longer, because I was on a search committee that we waited way too long, and it was painful during those hot summer months. And the pool was thick, but it could have been thicker. So I'd like to move it along. That's my reason for just, let's move something along.
Anyone else? Take it to a vote. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Now, the job descriptions, I don't want to call it standard, but it's pretty standard. So this is the next thing. So should we post the position, start getting applicants while we work on the search committee? Like, start getting the applicants as soon as you can, like
Right.
30-day,
idea.
45-day window, just doesn't matter, they're just going into a folder anyway.
Sure.
And then get the search committee and decide how you want to go about, hey, these are the 10 we want to interview, these are the whatever, and make sure. I think we need to make a formal commitment to make sure that the 5 towns are represented equally in somehow, some way, and that we're comfortable. I think that this board, given the history, I think we need to look at who's on it, and that everyone in the room's comfortable with who's on it, and then we go forward. Fair enough?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Jen?
I don't think this board has been lacking in meetings to be able to have some input as to what that job description might look like, or what this board as a whole would hope that we would get for an assistant superintendent. So I'm fine with that.
So there's a standard, kind of template for.
Sure, sure. But I think it's important for both districts to be able to come together and look at that and see if there's any specific, specialties or areas that we would want somebody with some strengths in.
So, that being said, we can bring a job description to the public hearing meeting and put that on the agenda, and you can look at the job description, so hold off on posting?
I don't think I'd hold off on
No.
posting.
Oh,
I
no,
wouldn't hold
post?
off on posting.
Okay.
Still gonna post it no matter what, but.
I wouldn't hold off on posting.
So are we
Okay.
saying could they use the same one that was used last year?
What was wrong with the one we used?
That's just
Well,
job
that's what I'm
description.
asking. Can we just agree that that's what they're using?
That's fine, it's a job
Yeah.
description.
Yeah,
To
just-
Jen's point, I mean, you can prioritize what you think is most important and least important in someone's skill set as you're looking at resumes, but that job description pretty much covers everything and anything. I mean, there's even a line down the bottom, I think at the end, right? It's like, whatever else we come up with, right? Superintendent, so, I mean, it covers an awful lot. There's a lot on that job description.
Yeah, you'll know by a pool of applicants what the strengths are for people, or, you'll know.
Can we just have it emailed out to all of us and we can look at it? I mean,
Are we agreeing today that, so that it can get posted?
yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Like, we just all voted on, right? Yeah?
And so I can put, let's see, today's the 13th. I mean, should we say, collect resumes up to the end of December? I don't think we're gonna have a committee together, doing anything yet, and then we can start the work in January as a committee? That gives you a good 45 days, I think, of search.
Sure.
All right, so we'll put it up through December 31st, and we'll get the, not the resume, the job description out to all 14 members tomorrow, and hopefully can we get that posted tomorrow? Oh, yeah.
Great. Now, infamous, agenda item 8, Business Operations Coordinator Job Description. Okay, Jeff, talk to me.
So the board, I believe, had requested, after the business operations coordinator left the district, that we take a look at what that business operations coordinator position would look like with two strong facilities directors in each district. And based on that, I think the role can focus in turn a bit more toward finance. It would be good to have that higher level of support, of finance support, to be able to undertake a lot of the general ledger work, financial work, public hearings. You see everything that goes on. It would also free me up a bit to be able to be a level of review of that work, which I believe seems to be an ongoing theme with audit, that they would like to see my role as more of a role to be able to review, check, and verify the work of the finance department. And so this is what we've come up with that would be tailored to that specific role. So you can see that it, you can go through it and take a look. You can see that we're looking at someone with general ledger experience, be able to understand and submit financial information, financial statements, preparation of annual reports, all of that general finance support. Right now we have support. We do need it at a higher level on a lot of issues, on a lot of things. Right now I've got effectively 5 to 6 budgets going on. It's very good, and I know when George was here, we had a very good control system in place, so we could make sure that the budget that was out there, the changes that were made were all under control, and we were able to document and had a very nice system, and we were able to check each other to make sure what was going on was exactly what we had agreed upon with the boards or the budget committees or whoever it was. Right now, I'm the one who approves tens of millions every year in purchase orders, requisitions for virtually every purchase that goes through the schools, to compare it to budget and approve it, as well as payroll. And as of right now, there's really no backup for me in that regard. That's a lot of day-to-day work that, as soon as I'm taken off to attend to something else, ends up being sometimes not attended to as timely as it should be, or I have to prioritize. And being able to provide some leadership to our finance group as a whole would be helpful. I know that we had talked earlier about reports coming out and needing signatures and all of that. You know, when George and I were here together, I would be the one doing those reports, and that was it. There was nothing else. That was it. I could go into an office and get them done. It might take 2 or 3 days or longer to do. Having someone in that capacity at a very high level would be useful. In addition to that, and it's a very difficult thing to find someone who has the experience both in finance and facilities and maintenance and food service and transportation. And you can see on the second page, I've delineated what other areas there would be. And by way of example, facilities, I've been very involved with the facilities departments in both districts lately, quite a bit actually, working on capital projects, on budgeting, on execution of those projects, on planning, on making sure that we have the right equipment, and that our facilities are being maintained at a level commensurate with what our expectations and what your expectations are. Food service, just by way of example, we're required to undertake a review at all of our operations out in the field, and it's supposed to be breakfast and lunch at all of our schools, and we're supposed to go out. Someone from my office is supposed to go and observe and understand how that process is working, and to take a look at that kitchen, pun intended, soup to nuts, in terms of what their process is. So that takes me away, and typically I'll get out for a breakfast or a lunch, but typically that takes me away from the office for a significant period of time. If you can imagine all the schools that we have, all the levels, then that entails going through and actually spot checking and making sure that the number of folks that might go through a line ties with the register counts for the day. It involves an examination of the cleanliness of the operation, safety, postings, all of that. Having someone in such a role that I could instruct at that level would be very, very helpful. I could then review the reports, understand what the issues are, and process accordingly. So, transportation as well. Former business operations coordinator was very involved in managing the transportation department. I have now returned to managing that directly, and obviously we're in a good spot right now because we're into the year. We've got a good rhythm going on. We don't have any bus bids going out. We did have some issues, which I believe have been resolved and worked out and worked through. And I think Hampstead had experienced some issues a number of years ago. Timberlane now, should any of those come up again, that's one of those things that can pull me away from the core work, and that's what I'd like to be able to return to. So this is the proposal that we have. Most other districts in the area have someone in this capacity. They'll have in fact, Salem has an assistant superintendent of finance or business, I believe, and finance and operations, and then they have an assistant business administrator in that capacity to assist with a lot of that day-to-day, which allows that assistant superintendent to go out and supervise and provide leadership in all of the areas that my department are involved in. Other districts have a CFO and an assistant business administrator. It's also a very good check. Should something happen, to me right now, you really want someone at a higher level to be able to pick that up if necessary.
Well, I guess before I open it up, by the way, nice job, by the way. So if I look at the facilities, for example, so both Hampstead and Timberlane have recently filled positions, and as those people come up to speed, theoretically, you're still involved, but you'll be less involved. Because obviously now you have, Tom was doing it, now there were two Toms, one for Hampstead, one for Timberlane. And I know that, so Greg Colby, is he still around acting as a consultant?
Yep, he's in only a few hours a week.
Okay. And then a couple of weeks ago, I know so Timberlane hired what was that, an assistant bookkeeper?
Part-time bookkeeper, yeah.
Part-time bookkeeper. So that was was that a new position?
Yes, it was, yeah.
So you're thinking that, because I think I was the actual person pushing for this job a year ago. And I was looking for a person like a Greg Colby and then whatever he spends an hour a week, whatever he spends, and then then you went down the road of an assistant bookkeeper, which doesn't have, obviously, the salary or the experience of this job. So I'm just trying to make sure we're not like overdoing it here, if you will, because it looks to me like it looks like our facilities, as these people, start getting experience in their jobs, that theoretically you should not have to spend the time in facilities that you've had to spend once these people come up to speed.
That'd be true. I do anticipate that I would be spending time on capital planning, and there's a vast budgetary impact there, and particularly the funding of the projects. What our former business operations coordinator did, essentially, and I don't know the best way to put it, but he was able to spend some time to have us qualify for grants, infrastructure grants, for example, that allowed us to make improvements to the districts, and also receive state funding for that. It's quite a bit of time that's involved in doing that. And right now, we want to make sure the work gets done. I would like to be able to make sure that we're able to do more work and secure funding and do that kind of thing. So I do anticipate that would be the role.
Mrs. Seneca.
I don't know what Timberlane's facilities director does, but I know that in Hampstead, we would still be relying on the business operations coordinator to deal with food service in its entirety, transportation. That's not something that our facilities director actually gets involved in.
Correct.
So we would still need you. If we didn't have someone else to do that, you would still have to do that, at least for Hampstead. As I said, I don't know what Timberlane's facility director is responsible for. And there are other areas like that, too. You would also be working with our facilities director to help develop and manage project budgets, monitor district projects from the RFP through completion. Actually, I think A, B, C, and D. Hampstead would still require your services.
No, I guess that my point was, it's not so much same thing, it's just that there was a person, that's all they did. The person, there was, from what I guess the history of this thing, the only people on the board, but yourself and Sue, before the rest of us on the board, that was actually your job, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then when Jeff moved up, then it went from being assistant business manager, whatever the title was, to a facilities person. And what happens a lot, anyway, Tom was a catch-all. He did facilities, he oversaw food service, transportation, happens a lot, had to wear many hats. So that was my point, that right now, I think it makes more sense anyway, that right now that I have what's gone on recently here, Hampstead having their own buildings, and Timberlane, that makes perfect sense, because there's plenty of work for the facilities people to do without having to do with food service or transportation. There's plenty. So, Sheila.
Where I'm struggling, and I am struggling with this, is because this looks like the actual first description I saw for a business coordinator. It looks pretty much like the first one. Then I saw a second one that took out all the financials pretty much. And now we're back to the original.
Yep.
So he really, the person that was in the position really didn't do a lot of financials for you.
Was not.
Because it was not in that job description that described that position at the time.
And the needs at the time were more on the facilities,
Okay.
on the operations end.
So, what did you do? That's what I mean, so you were on your own, basically, with no backup. So now you've got the accountant that's part-time. Should we have made the accountant full-time?
I think I think there are a couple things to remember or to consider. and that is that when the way that we've been operating, when I went into that role, we have been held, I don't want to say held, but held to a higher standard, I think, both by accounting and by myself, in terms of what that function should look like. And when I came in, I reasonably thought that I could find area for improvement, right? Process efficiency, build in controls, be able to have a better reporting and all of that. And while that was the case, I also discovered that there are things that I look at more in depth and with much more detail than had been looked at before. And as a result of that, a lot of things I think are getting done and reviewed better, but that takes more time and a little more manpower.
I understand that, but you didn't have you as a backup.
I didn't have me as a backup, and we ended up with quite frankly, we ended up with audit findings. Because
So that's-
sometimes things don't, sometimes they'll, and quite frankly, between all of us, I do believe that those audit findings were put in place. As audit can't come in and say, hey, this is how you should properly staff. But when audit would come in and tell me that we were in the situation that we were in, even with the business operations coordinator here, we have staffing of districts the size of just larger than Hampstead. He wouldn't be terribly, I'm sure Mike had that conversation with you, wasn't terribly comfortable necessarily with the structure. He's not in to look at our individual, unit and structure and all that, but he would feel that it would be better to have additional internal controls. He has to have a backup if something happens to me.
No, I understand that, but this basically is we're looking for somebody in finance with the side of food service, transportation, and partial facilities.
Yep, and I think that's where we're at now. I think that's where the capabilities are best described.
So I guess I'm wondering why Timberlane went with a part-time accountant and didn't go.
That's what I was trying to get to earlier. Dr. Metzler?
I think if we look at the totality of the way we've gone about the business for quite some time, people forget. Our previous business administrator went without any backup for the good part of a year before Jeff came on board. Jeff came on board and was assisting in a number of different ways, but was handling a lot of HR work, was doing a lot of investigations and doing that kind of work. And so the job really has morphed a lot of different ways. At one point we had 3 people. We had 2 facilities directors and Tom. And then we just had Tom and no facilities directors. So we've gone with and without, just like we're going without an assistant superintendent right now, just for a period of time. We've gone without backups in particular areas or people. Right now HR was down two people. So, it's not, jobs just have changed a little bit over time, and a lot of it has to do with who the person in the job is. So, what does this particular BA need now that's different than the previous BA? And the job has changed a little bit. I mean, I think the criteria by the audits and the focus on the business operations here is very different than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Right? So I think what we need for help is different. And the skill sets of the people that we look for are a little bit different. And then, then you have the 2 districts that you have the work it's not the same. It's 2 different districts working in the same SAU. I think we've identified a number of things that are very different about both districts, right? So, and I don't know if me saying this, I'm not advocating for or against this particular position. It's what we asked for. Here it is. What would you like to do? Timberlane has firmed up what they felt like they needed, and he has that. Now, what would you like to do from the SAU, looking over 2 districts and the operations that we have to manage? I think it's really the question.
Jen?
On the back of this, B, maintenance. Is this what our facilities director is doing right now?
Yeah.
Under B, on the maintenance? Really, you get a facilities director in there, and the role is a little different in both districts. We have a lot more staff in Hampstead and a lot more buildings. What our facilities directors are doing now is that, however, getting into the budgetary requirements, especially for those bigger capital projects, that's where my office becomes more directly involved. And I'm doing that one way or the other. And
But capital projects aren't maintenance.
no, making sure that the facilities are, I don't know. It looks like it might be a wasp, so.
Is it a stink bug?
I don't know. So, when we talk about maintenance, it still has to be done, it has to be monitored, it has to make sure, I have to make sure that our standards are being upheld. If we have an issue that comes up, there is a point of escalation. And that point of escalation right now is the facilities director, and then if not, it can be the superintendent or myself. Right now, unfortunately, the superintendent is picking up. You're hearing some of that occasionally, so. It's not me saying, hey, there's too much work. It's me saying, no, this is your standard staffing level for districts. Just to give you an idea as well on what I would not be able to do in the future. I had calculated this out, and Hampstead, you've got some money as well, but we are going to be coming to the Timberlane board shortly with some funding from that infrastructure grant fund that you had discussed. The total expenditure will be about $313,000, of which we're receiving reimbursement from the state of $251,065. That's something that right now we would not have the capability to chase. We received it. We can now get it done, but I would not have the bandwidth to be able to do that because if I'm able to chase that, what's not getting done? I don't like having things last minute. I don't like having to, go to a field and ask for a form to be signed. It's just not the way I want to do it. But I'm up against some deadlines, and unfortunately, I should be reviewing this, and someone should have plenty of time to get it together and have it in plenty of time. I will tell you that I do think that if we don't have that role filled in some capacity, I do worry, I do get concerned, because I know audit has expressed their, I won't say discomfort, but they would be much more comfortable with someone in that role, in the role as described. If not, it's sort of a twofold thing. Yes, you were able to add some staff, add some part-time staff, that's great. But that part-time staff that you've added is not able to take on the additional operations functions that I've had to take on, that my office is now undertaking. So when it comes down to looking at it like that, I think that he would be very, very uncomfortable. I would not be surprised to see findings either, even if the ones we have go away, have additional findings in place. It's a cry to make, from audit to make sure that we are properly staffed from a controls and general overall good stewardship of our financial resources perspective, which is not uncommon. This is how most districts are set up. It's how we were set up. And quite frankly, that part-time position that we've added probably would have been needed if things were done the way that I'm doing them now, the way that audit is doing them now, if they had been done that way in the past. That role would have been there. There are a lot of additional controls that I've put in place in the finance department alone that we had not looked at previously. Even the payroll vouchers that you see go through, I don't know if anyone remembers how thin they were before or how how little detail they contained, and that is something that is significantly more work for my staff to put together, and that then creates a little bit more of a burden, which we've been able to offset.
So what is your current staff? What's the size of your staff?
On the finance end, it's myself. I have my administrative assistant, who's also responsible for Timberlane payroll and is able to handle a number of other projects in the interim, an accounts payable clerk and a payroll clerk and general finance assistant for handling the Hampstead payroll and general issues, food service applications, and that sort of thing.
So 3 people?
Well, 3.5. Yeah.
3.5.
Yeah. Plus myself.
Does that include the part-time person for Timberlane?
3.5 plus myself, yeah.
Does that include Mr. Colby?
No. No, I'm not sure how his 2 hours a week might fit in, or every 2 hours every 2 weeks would fit in 0.1.
So,
Well, Mr. Colby's not dealing with facilities, maintenance, food service, or transportation. No, he's helping with the financial ends. That's his expertise. That's what we asked him to come in and help the SAU with originally. I mean, this sounds like a very interesting job. You need to be pretty good with numbers and then pretty good with people, because this is all people. You need to deal with the transportation director and their issues, the food service director that we have and the issues going on there, maintenance and facilities. So you've got some people skills in here too. And I don't know how you could possibly do everything you're supposed to be doing in all of this as well. So I'm in favor of having a second person in place here that does 1 through 10, or no, 1 with all those letters, and then the others. That's a lots of job in itself. That, and then oversee or help in those. I still see you being drawn away to help with a maintenance issue or a transportation issue. I
Don't mind at all.
You're the CEO here, and so that's what you should be doing. But you don't have anybody to back. You don't have anybody to rely on except these wonderful 3.5 people that don't have this. I don't think have this job skill. So I'm in favor of this as is. Get somebody. Again, you got to find somebody who's going to fill this kind of position.
I don't know if you can see that. What that number is right there? It's, I just happened to open up my pending purchase order approvals for Timberlane alone.
Sure.
What's that number?
It's 3 digits.
It's 3 digits, it's 100.
Sure.
On the money. So when I come in, maybe tomorrow, I'll be able to spend several hours getting through all that. So it's good if I could have someone to be able to, handle that. Our district would operate and work a little bit more efficiently.
So do we need to take a vote on this? Can we move forward on this? I'm in favor of moving this forward.
Yeah.
Mr.
I was just
Sanker?
going to say, I agree with Sue. I think those job requirements warrant this person.
Before we take a vote here, I'm just curious in terms of the reporting structure. Facilities person we just hired, that wouldn't affect that.
He would work with the facilities director,
Well,
not be the, not be.
I'm asking the
reporting
question in terms of, I'm looking at the salary range, and
What do you mean? It wouldn't,
if a person is making the same or more money and they're
Or
below,
less.
yeah, that's what I'm
to-
saying.
it goes.
That person is a hit.
I'd like to see how that skill set fits in terms of what that reporting structure would look like ultimately.
Okay, that's.
I mean, if you look at it from the field, right, so you have the facilities director in the field reporting. I mean, I don't necessarily think they may be more equal, both reporting through the CFO as
Okay.
opposed to what I think you're envisioning,
Yeah.
this person reporting to that person and them.
That was my
First,
question.
We couldn't do that, and it would be an SAU position, so I don't believe there's an issue with
Okay.
them being a direct report to the CFO. I don't believe, because
decide on-
it would fit in, it'd be just like the HR person is a direct report to me.
Yeah, and that's why that's captioned assist in the oversight of the following departments. I expect that there's going to be familiarity with those areas, and for example, with food service, it would be very helpful to have another resource to be able to go out to visit every school for a couple service periods every year. But that wouldn't necessarily mean that role would be through that person,
Sheila,
reporting to that person.
we take this vote, go ahead.
Just to be clear, we're looking for somebody who's heavy in finance, correct?
Correct.
Because if this is the job description this time, can we make sure we find somebody that fits it?
Correct. Yep.
I don't want to have another job description come back with the finance taken out to fit,
No, you want.
Fit that
to
need.
fit that need.
I think right now, if you're to look at what the need is,
This is what the need is, it's the finance, it's the heavy finance.
And we don't have holes, and this is not a knock on anybody in the past, we don't have holes in either facility director position right now either. Like whether there's a person there or not there, so
But you understand where I'm going with
yeah,
that?
clearly defines what he needs right now, which is that, so.
So do we need a motion, or do we?
Okay, did you just make a motion?
I make a motion that we direct the superintendent and the business
CFO.
manager, CFO, I never know the letters, to move this along, and let's get this advertised and hired.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? So it's 9-1.
I'm sorry, was there any,
Not,
opposed?
Sheila's opposed.
No, she wasn't.
No, she wasn't.
Let's just,
Oh, I'm sorry,
I'm swallowing, sorry, I was full.
oh, I'm sorry.
10-0.
10-0.
I
I'm
just didn't
sorry.
take my arm down quick
Oh,
enough.
I'm sorry.
Brian, if I could, I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding, right? So are we looking for somebody for July 1? Are we posting this for July 1 because this is in next year's budget, or is this something that we want hired as soon as possible?
No, I think, well, I don't think you're gonna find someone that
Now.
quick
Yeah,
anyway.
no.
Now.
Let's
Okay, I
get-
just wanted to make sure there wasn't any,
Advertising? Yeah.
because we talked about it in the budget for next year, but we're talking about, we're talking about posting and hiring now for the remainder of this year and then into next
Yeah,
year.
so see
Okay,
what's out there.
excellent.
Well, it's gonna take a while to find the right person.
I don't think you're gonna get someone like that in 2 weeks, but, you know, you gotta see what's out there. Okay. Policy BDD. Mr. Sherman, you have any input on this?
Hello. The policy committee has not been able to meet. It's a little hard to get us all together. But I did do some research at the request of the chair and vice chair, did some research on policy DDD. Yet again, SAU55 is unique, aren't you surprised, that we have in our 55 policy, the statement that says, hold all meetings of the board in the presence of the superintendent, except when his or her contract and salary are under consideration. I believe when that policy was written 20 years ago, or rephrased, adopted 20 years ago, was when the SAU only met a couple times a year, and so it made only good sense that you had your educational leader at the meeting. However, both of our districts do not have that same phrase in either of their district BDD. In fact, they're pretty much boilerplate policies. They mirror each other. I looked at Exeter, Sanborn, Salem, Londonderry, and even the town I grew up in, Northwood, and none of them at their SAU level, even though the structure's slightly different in some of those communities, have a policy that says that you have to hold a meeting in the presence of the superintendent. I believe there should be some modification in the statement, and this is the statement that's under number 3. Hold a meeting in the presence of the superintendent and/or his designee. We need to have someone at the meeting. There's already in another policy, I've learned a lot from policies doing all of this, that connects the fact that, yeah, you can still have a special board meeting at the call of the chair or at the request of any one of the member boards. But you're expecting to follow some RSAs, have it written, noticed, etc. Not to have someone represent the educational leadership and/or the business leadership makes no sense to me to have a meeting. So I would propose that we amend policy BDD at the SAU level 55 to read, in the presence of the superintendent and/or his designee.
So moved.
No, second, you're a second to me.
I'm the second.
Okay, you made a motion? Yeah.
Did you motion that, or did you just recommend it?
I'm recommending
Oh,
so.
I'm
And I
sorry.
said so
I'm sorry.
moved.
You're correct.
We need a second.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
I think that's a fair point. That's what we have in our policy. And it allows for flexibility on both the board's part and on the superintendent's part.
Okay, makes sense to me. All those in favor? Unanimous. Nicely done, Mrs. Sherman.
You want to waive a second read?
Well, I did research on that too. Since we
No
have
need?
no, since we have no formal policy about policy at the SAU level, we don't even need to have, we can bring up a policy anytime we want. It says, adopt policies that affect the SAU.
Great.
That's
Even
policy BBBH. So I think we're covered there. It's a tangled web of policies, even though the SAU only has 34, and Hampstead's book's cleaner. Tim Mullane's book is getting cleaner, but there's so many interconnected policies that the state recommends, and the New Hampshire School Board has recommended. So I think we're all set. I don't believe we have to waive a reading or have a but you can go through that process if you want to.
Oh, well done. No, good. Good. You good?
We're all right.
Hey, we're good. We're good. Moving on. Audit update.
We have, actually, I have audit coming in on Friday, and they're going to be here next week as well, conducting their field work. We've done a little bit more this year in terms of being able to, and Greg Colby has been able to help out tremendously in being able to transmit the audit information to our auditors. So we've been able to do a lot more remotely, and so they'll be coming in for controls testing on Friday and a little bit more field work next week. So I'm hoping that, and I've made the SAU audit priority with them, and hopefully we'll hear, they'll be able to get that turned around relatively quickly.
Good. So, yeah, you just said, so your SAU audit will be done first. Should be the simplest one anyway, it's the smallest.
It's not a huge audit, so I don't want to
Yeah,
make it
should
more
be
of it than
pretty
it
quick.
is, you know? It's not a huge entity, if you will.
Yeah. Great, thank you. And Administrator's report.
Just quickly, I have a letter for the chair from one of the employees, confidential personnel letter. It's not in an envelope or anything, so
Oh.
I can give that to you.
Great.
Say that I submitted. Kathy, you have a copy? And that's all we have for a report.
Okay.
And while you're reading that, if I may, I do not want to get in the middle of this, but I did want to make you aware, whoever's going to be signing the vouchers for SAU, there is a voucher in there for legal firm for some investigatory work which was undertaken. And so it might just be you, Brian. I don't know. I received a bill that was signed by the board chair. A purchase order was set up prior to that. I've produced payment on that, but I want to make sure that if there is any question about the board's authorization of that engagement, I have prepared that for your review and I'm bringing it to your attention. I've prepared that check simply, based on the fact that I have authorization from the board chair to do so. But I did want to put that out there. Whoever's going to be signing it, bring that to your attention. I know nothing about the engagement or the board's authorization. Again, I received something from a board chair that's signed. I presume that it's been duly approved.
Is it the warrant that I signed earlier?
Sounds like it.
Okay.
See, but I tell you, if it's something strange, I'll call it out. If it's something odd, I'll call
Okay.
I'll call it out for you.
See, we were directed in terms of engagements to have 3 signatures.
Yep.
The vice chair and one from Hampstead. We did not have that. It's
Yep.
quite a big bill. So I wanted to make sure he was safe in the audit, so it's been prepared separately. Because that was done without 3 signatures, just for the record.
Okay.
You done?
Ms. Beno, Caitlin?
Do we happen to know if this is the last bill from this?
Doubt it.
It's not the last bill.
Because it's, as far as we know, this is not complete, this matter. I don't know what I
Correct.
can say or not say, so, okay.
Brian, can you answer that, or is it?
I believe it is complete. We have not, I talked to Kim last week, and she's been looking for the physical report. She's been told by Drummond Whitson, the report, it's done. We haven't seen it.
So does that mean DW has it?
Nope. She was she has reached out between DW and then Kim have both reached out saying, okay, where's the report? So that's, I don't have any further update than that, quite frankly. I just didn't even know Kim was gonna be here tonight till about 5:45, so.
That's about a month plus overdue, correct?
You get no argument from me.
So why are we paying this if we do not have it?
Or is it the alter, is it?
If you think it's, I'm just going back to what you think it's done, why are we paying if we don't have the?
I'm repeating what Kim told me, so Kim's reached out to, that was like a subcontract, if you will, through Drummond Woodson, so, I mean, I believe when they say it's done. I don't think, it's not like this work didn't happen.
No, I agree. It's just like if I have a contractor at my house doing work, I'm not gonna provide the payment until I see the proof that it's done. So I'm asking, why are we paying for something if it's not done, if we don't have it?
Well,
You were told 2 weeks ago that it was done? Because the author of the report has indicated that it's not done. She was still working on it.
Okay.
As of last week.
I don't know how comfortable I am.
So I don't know where DW falls in this, but that again is,
Me
there's
personally, with
a
my name being on it.
discrepancy there about whether it's completed or not.
Interesting.
Because we had additional information submitted, and she said, well, good, I'm not done with my report yet. We gotta finish the report.
Well,
You signed up Hampstead.
I guess,
I know, I don't wanna put you on the spot. You were told what you were told, we were told, we were told.
yeah.
It's not the same.
Well, all I can do is, I'll get in touch with the chair, see what's going on here, but I'm not gonna, I have no intention of,
Yeah.
I signed a document, I'm really not personally too worried about it, that whether it's, we have it in my hands, so. Whether the bill was 5,000 or 10,000, I don't, that's what lawyers get. I
What was the number?
think it's about 10,000.
$10,449.
Wow, he said 40 before. Big money.
I'm sorry?
I'm talking to myself.
Not
And
a good sign.
I'm tired.
Mrs. Sanka?
And seriously, and before we pay this, though, I mean, the answer, the question still needs to be answered. Like, who actually authorized this? And,
We'll go to a non-public if you want to go into that.
and who had the authority to authorize
The chair.
this?
Yeah, the chair, when you're,
I don't know.
Jen?
I thought we already had that discussion in non-public.
We did.
We did.
We did.
But could someone just provide the board with something that shows that the chair was authorized to do that? Either
Chair, but when
a
someone,
vote at the meeting
when someone
or
is threatening with the
RSA
suit,
or a policy?
when someone is threatening with the suit, the chair did what they did to protect the SAU immediately, absolutely.
But there is no lawsuit. This money was spent, and there is no lawsuit. There's not even a claim.
Oh, there's a claim.
It was a claim.
Oh, there's a claim. It's about 25,000 right now.
We shouldn't be discussing this.
Well,
We,
Right.
yeah, can we adjourn?
Right.
Okay, so, any other business come before the board? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second. I'll motion.
Thank you. See you this